culture on the Sire Studios digital network. That's siredigital.com. And find all of our archived podcasts and videos at secretsofthesire.com. You can watch us live on youtube.com/Sire Studios, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, and twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. And find our podcast on all podcasting apps: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchors, and the Castworks Comedy Network. Anywhere you can download a podcast, you can find us. Tonight, Birds of Prey and Not Sexy Enough to Succeed. We talk briefly about the tragedy around Kobe Bryant. We talk Arrow series finale, Picard, and our winter TV preview. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, the Lord of the live stream himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm having a good day.
Woo! Look at you. That's about as positive as you get.
Yeah, that's about all you're gonna get too.
I didn't have a bad day yesterday.
Oh, you're ruining the spread. Why? What happened?
I had to get a new phone because I
saw your post.
My iPhone 7. Yeah, my iPhone 7. While functional, the audio wasn't. The audio dictation really bad, which I do a lot of, audio because I'm driving or whatever the case is. So I will literally, if I have to talk to somebody or send an email, I'll do it through safely through my headphones, or just in general. Like, it's just easier sometimes to send a voice text, even though it was just awful. It was getting butchered. It was more work. The battery wasn't charging completely. And it wasn't the battery. It was like literally the where you plug it into. Just really annoying. Got to a point where I was like, all right, it's been 4 years. I need an upgrade. So I get this thing. This is an iPhone 11 because it's the latest model. And I say, all right, I'm going to have a phone for 5 years. This is great. This was the equivalent of half of what my laptop would cost me. This was like $650 for the 64 gig. I went with the 128 and paid $750 for it. I would literally buy a new and I am in the market for a new laptop. I pay $1,500 for a new laptop. My phone costs half of what a laptop costs. What the F?
Wow. Who's your provider, though? Because usually you could work out a deal. I mean, you were way due for for an upgrade.
They don't do upgrades anymore. They do. If you do a monthly, they give you a monthly rate.
Yeah, and then it goes into it gets added onto your bill.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just buy it outright, and I'll have this for 5 years, and hopefully that will even out. But it's my exact same phone. It's just there's the part that got me even more. I like the smaller phone because I like to not have to carry around something really, really obnoxious in my pocket. The smaller phone was another $100. So I was like, all right, I'll just get the bigger one. So now is the equivalent of what I have. Something new.
You got a plus. You got a whatever is 8S. Oh, excuse me, 11 plus. Or 11
no, I got the 11. The 11 is just bigger. The 11 Pro is smaller. Go figure. So I got exactly the equivalent, but now it's bigger than what I had. It's nice. The screen is beautiful. I got to relearn everything. I got to log back into all my apps. So,
I got an 8, and I've had it since
2017, right?
Yeah,
because that's when it came out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's starting to give me issues. Yeah, and I just don't want to. I just don't want to go through it again. I really don't want to upgrade.
I know. It's it was a traumatic day.
I'm sorry. That sucks. That sucks bad.
And perfect segue into our opening credits. We're going to talk briefly about this, and you might ask yourself, why would we talk about this? This is not necessarily comics, movies, TV, or pop culture, but it is in a way. Kobe Bryant, obviously, passing away over the weekend. It was another traumatic event, to be honest with you. I am a big sports guy. I know our audience is not necessarily. He is connected to our world, though. He won the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film for Dear Basketball. That was in 2018, actually. I think he won the Oscar for that. And he started a media company. He was actually starting the second half of his life, and I knew him professionally, not actually. I just knew him from watching him. I'm a big basketball fan. I'm a big Knicks fan in general, and it was very shocking. 41 years old, obviously very sad. His daughter was on the helicopter that went down as well too. 7 other people, including the pilot. Again, we don't really need. That's why it's kind of an opening credits, kind of number here. We just want to kind of pay tribute in a way and talk, but jarring when someone so young passes in such a tragic, way.
Yeah, I think. I was at home on Sunday when I got a kind of a text message from CNN, like one of the news things that just said Kobe Bryant went down in a helicopter crash, and it was very non-specific. It really didn't. It was vague, and so as time goes on, and I knew it was legit right away because it was CNN, so it wasn't like TMZ or something like that.
Right. Oh, but, TMZ actually broke it, by the way.
I know.
Which the police were upset with because they kind of broke it before anyone could alert their family. Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, like with TMZ, right? With TMZ, you could kind of be like, all right, maybe this is a hoax. They don't know what they're talking about. When you get something from CNN, I mean, people have their biases towards towards mainstream media also, but they vet their stories before they announce anything.
Yes.
So when you're getting an announcement from CNN, you kind of know that's the standard right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of another surreality where you hear this and you're like, wow, okay, that's rough, and it starts to dawn on you how rough it is as the time goes by. And then the problem with that is that the news starts to become relentless at that point.
Yeah.
Because now everybody's reporting on it, and because of the social media, it's everywhere you look. It's just boom, you hit with it. The other thing that's worse than that, not worse than Kobe Bryant's death or anything like that, but the other thing that's kind of bad is just the way our society is organized, where it took 3 days before I heard who else was in the helicopter with him.
Yeah.
His death took all the oxygen up in the room, and it was. I mean, it was a tragic.
Just tragic in general, right? There's no silver lining from any of this.
No.
And it just goes to show you. Well, the couple things. One is like you kind of mentioned, the digital age that we live in. I mean, I literally on Sunday, my Sunday got interrupted by a text message from a friend. Hey, did you hear this? No, I didn't. Oh my gosh. Let's go see if this is true. We go and we try to vet these things now, and it seemed like it was true, and that was even worse. Then you hear it from other friends, and you shoot it out to other friends. So
the way up all over the place.
Right, the way information travels now, it's not the equivalent of when we were, where we were 10 years ago. So that's the first thing I kind of noticed. But like you said, you reach fatigue. You reach a point where I'm tired of pulling down on the Twitter feed and trying to see, and the report that his daughters were on the copter, and then you go, oh well, that's not true. Oh, thank God. And then you find it's just one, and you go, oh my God, that's even worse. It's not worse, but it's just as bad. But
now they're broken up now, and all that stuff that comes with it, all the baggage that comes with all that stuff.
I mean, it's something like that. Getting to the pop culture aspect, just to kind of pay tribute, the fact that he had transcended his basketball life, which was in and of itself, in 41 years, he accomplished more than I think you and I combined have, just in terms of professional, to give it some sort of,
no argument.
Weight.
No argument.
And it just felt like he had so much more left to contribute with this new media company.
It was young.
It would have been very interesting. I actually watched.
He was a child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you seen, I don't know if you have, I did. I actually ended up watching Dear Basketball. It is unbelievable. Like it is a really amazing animated piece. I definitely recommend going and seeing it. So again, to our audience who mainly might be interested in that kind of thing versus the sports aspect to it, pay tribute by going to watch it. It's great. I think they actually might have pulled it offline, but you can still find it on YouTube. It really is a breathtaking animated short, and it also kind of again, there's no positives out of this, so I'm not trying to say like there's a silver lining, but it was very inspirational to watch that and to kind of understand. We grow up in a time where you sit there and go, if you're an Oscar winner, you have to either be a best actor, best actress, best director, best film. That's it. It's the only chance you got. But no, there are other forms of media that are accessible to creative people to get the recognition and to get the kind of get sort of attention. So to me, it was like, all right, again, it's not a positive, it's not a silver lining, but it was something that after watching the short film, I kind of got inspired by. So it's a good thing, in that, very, very
whatever
small
you could pull
capacity.
out of that. Yeah.
So, all right, shifting gears to happier topics. Birds of Prey, not sexy enough to succeed. This was
That's a happier topic.
I was kind of. I knew
it's a less depressing topic.
I knew what I was doing when I segued into that. This was an actual Twitter beef that was happening over the weekend, and I kind of thought it was hilarious. So I did want to just talk about it briefly. Like next week, we're going to preview Birds of Prey next week. We're going to have that Kevin Sharp on again. I said that because that's his Twitter handle, that Kevin Sharp, who's a media blogger, and he's going to come on and we're going to talk about the Birds of Prey stuff you need to be reading and whatnot. But I thought this was interesting. Matthew Kaddish, at Matthew Kaddish, who is a geek blogger, he wrote, "You know why Birds of Prey is going to bomb just like Charlie's Angels? They removed any sex appeal these characters had to appeal to a female girl power audience instead of the core male comic book audience. They literally don't know who they're making this movie for." And then he followed it up, like, even women want to see attractive women on screen. Cosplayers want hot characters to emulate. None of the Birds of Prey characters have any sex appeal. They even toned down Harley Quinn to make her less sexy, despite that being her biggest draw in Suicide Squad. Aside from the obvious rolling of the eyes and chuckling, I'm going to use the word chuckling. I had to actually, in my head, I was debating what form of laughter to describe a tweet like this.
Oh, geez.
They're really see, I giggling or chuckling. I couldn't figure out which one I wanted to kind of say. Because giggling kind of can be a positive thing.
Yeah.
Chuckling is kind of a better one. This tweet is like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Charlie's Angels bombed because nobody wanted a Charlie's Angels sequel. Like, we all realize that, right? Now,
obviously he doesn't.
My own personal taste aside, in terms of women's fashion, I actually like the fashion of the 2000s and the 2010s better than what we have now, because it's like retro 90s stuff, and I never liked the retro 90s stuff. Charlie's Angels was very sexy, though. It was very sexy by contemporary standards. It just wasn't a good movie that nobody wanted. Like, there was no one sitting there going like, you know what they should remake? That movie they remade twice already. No, based off the TV series. No, they didn't. Unnecessary. Birds of Prey is a Harley Quinn solo movie, which was actually demanded for because Harley Quinn is a in-demand character. Suicide Squad, while not overly successful, wasn't a complete, loss for DC. It had some shining moments, and that was Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. The core male, I could talk about this all the time. I really could. I could fill an entire show on this, actually, which many out there might be surprised at my point of view here. But the core male comic book audience is actually not the ones buying comic books as much anymore. There is a struggle between the comic book retailer and the wider graphic novel bookstore online digital audience, which is now primarily split between female and male and might even skew more female. So when I say this tweet is 15 years old, 15 years ago, yeah, this might have validity in terms of who's actually watching these superhero movies, which were not what they are now. It's also a 15-year-old tweet. It's also like what a 15-year-old would tweet.
That's what I was about to say. It also sounds like something a 15-year-old would.
If you see, hotter. we're showing Matthew Kaddish on screen. It is not a 15-year-old boy tweeting this, unfortunately. What's your take?
I don't understand why. I don't get this. I don't see what the gain is, because they were wrong every time. Right? Yeah. They're wrong about Star Wars. They're wrong about Captain Marvel. They got one victory, which was Solo.
Which is ironically starring a white male lead character.
Yeah, which are these extenuating circumstances to why that. And I love Solo. You know, I mean, it's extenuating circumstances. And I remember us arguing about it when they premiered Solo at Thanksgiving on 2017 or wherever that year they came out. And you were like, "Hey, man, it looks fun." And I'm like, "F them," you know. I'm not going back. I'm not doing it again. And it turned out Solo is one of the movies I genuinely enjoyed from Disney. I'm not saying that this is fandom menace or anything like that. I'm saying, because I'm not starting into that. I'm not wading into that pool. I'm saying that this hysteria to claim the soul of what cinema is supposed to be and who the genuine audience, you know, the genuine audience is being wronged for you to be, and you're focusing on audience that that doesn't give a damn about any of this stuff. The metrics don't prove that. You know, it's completely not proven. Women don't go see comic book movies or whatever. You get Wonder Woman and you get Captain Marvel. You get these. Minorities don't want to, are not reading. And then you got Black Panther, and you get some of these other things. And then now you get people openly saying, "Well, there should have been a little more diversity in this," and you would have gotten them. They're breaking audiences down by race now. You know, like how many people went to see, how many Caucasian went to see this, how many African American, how many Hispanic, blah blah blah. I'm not, and I cast no aspersions on that. I'm just talking about we do have math that shows that there is a substantial amount of money in catering to wider audiences. You know, now we can argue about the stories. All day long we can argue about the stories. I would agree. A lot of the stories are lacking. A lot of this is lacking. But to say that, okay, well, no woman's going to see this because none of the chicks are hot. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know, like that's it's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. And your finger's on the pulse of it. You don't have your finger on the pulse of it. You don't have your finger on the pulse of it because there's so many, like even Dr. Dolittle, which everybody said was dead on arrival, started making some money, you know, in the last weekend. I was like, not a lot. It's not a hit, but
it's a bomb. It's a bomb.
But it's not. It wasn't dead. It wasn't a dead thing. People actually did. It did rebound. It did rally to an extent. Okay, it's a bomb because of how much money was spent on it versus how much was made on it. But it's not. It's not Cats. Okay, nobody knows.
This is my question, though, and this is my question.
Except for Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige knows.
I have two questions, right? This guy, he's not a blue check guy, all right? He has no credentials. He has 4,500 followers. Very respectable. It's twice as many as I have. That's great. Go follow me on Twitter at @sire_studios.
Don't follow me. I don't want your following.
At HS Godwin. You're going to get more followers than me now because you're like, don't follow me. Well, F you. I'm going to follow you. And I'm like, please follow me. And they're like, I was. Now I'm not.
Now that you asked, because you asked.
But no, how does this capture the zeitgeist? I mean, this became like the big trending tweet. 3.8 thousand comments.
Because it's outrage. This is the currency of the realm, man.
So then that leads to my follow-up question. How valid is this tweet? Is this... I almost wonder if this guy is being paid by a marketing company to tweet this, to rally people around something.
I would not be surprised.
And that just goes to show you, again, going back to this wonderful thing that I spent half a laptop on, and that's exactly what I will call it, just how dangerous this little thing in our pocket really is. Because I think what it does and how it separates us. Look, we're not the first show to say this. We're not the first people to think this, but it really, we are living in an age that our rock and roll heroes used to, literally write songs against, in terms of, but selling out has now intermixed with personal expression to a point where I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. And this could be an example of that. Or it could just be some 45-year-old man who's trapped in a 15-year-old's body. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All right. When we come back, we are diving into our winter TV preview. We got Walking Dead. We got Clone Wars. We got Picard. There's another show called Lock and Key coming on Netflix. That was a very popular comic book from IDW. We'll dive into the Arrow series finale as well when we return. Check out the all-new Sire Studios website, SireStudiosInc.com. Find all your back issues for The Sire, Mainstream, Undone, and more. And be on the lookout for news and announcements, convention appearances, and brand new podcasts coming to Sire Studios. That address again is SireStudiosInc.com. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. Now we really focus on the TV part. Just as soon as I give a little shout out to our beloved patrons, go to patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. Dedicated fans, Tom Osa, Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Beyer, Omar Morales, Brian Phillips, program director Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. It is winter. It used to be, it's funny, there used to be a winter mid-season replacement era, or January used to be like a dead time. January to March was like the deadest time. Now there are no seasons anymore. There's just endless content.
Yeah, stuff is just dropping all over the place.
Yeah, and so we have a few things that are coming back. Some that have already launched. We'll start with Picard. Have you been able to watch any of Picard?
They've only had the first episode out, and I did watch the first episode. Yeah. I did see it.
You got to pay for CBS. You got to pay for that app, right?
Yeah, you got.
I'm getting tired of paying for apps, dude. Like I paid for cable. Just put it on cable.
They will eventually. That's gonna be the rub, man. It's all this stuff is gonna be, all this exclusive content is gonna be superfluous after a while, because they're gonna eventually just put it on Hulu.
I have to check
on the non-pay Hulu, or they're going to pay it, or they're going to put it right on HBO or something like that.
Yeah, I have to check with because it's funny. My HBO Go app works because I pay for HBO through Verizon. So maybe I get something with Verizon. I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking to cut corners anywhere I can. What I did read about it, so obviously you could tell I have not seen it. I'm not a big Star Trek guy, though, in general, so it's not – I mean, I never watched Next Generation. It would be on Sunday afternoons somewhere, and I would just kind of, whatever. It's just not into it.
Wow. Never watched Next Generation. I don't know how many
I think I've seen 3 episodes in my entire life.
3 episodes of Next Generation in 7 years.
And that was probably just because there was literally nothing else on, and I was channel surfing, and those were the days. Dude. Those were the days when you literally had, I guess when that was on, you probably had 50 channels, 60 channels.
Yeah, not much else. There's a lot more excuse.
40 of those channels are just unwatchable garbage.
There's a lot more excuse of you not watching Picard right now than not watching Next Gen when it was coming out.
Not a Star Trek guy. I did read, though,
that's a good enough reason.
What I did read was that it is to Star Trek what Logan is to the X-Men universe.
I can see that. You could say that. You can make that, which is ironic because Patrick Stewart was also in Logan. Well, and it was the inspiration for
right. He said he wanted to bring a lot of what they did in Logan to the Star Trek universe. Mm-hmm. Is that reflected, do you think?
I think it is, to an extent. Like Patrick Stewart's like this weird. He is like a gold standard for not so much the Next Generation, but for late 80s, early 90s Star Trek in general, for that whole golden age of Star Trek era. Even though he only occupied basically like 7 years of it, right. And then give or take another 10 years in movies. And there are other captains. There's Captain Janeway, Captain Sisko, Captain Archer, Captain Kirk. He's not the only character, but he is a pinnacle. He's very much a paragon, right, of the sensibilities Starfleet and of the Federation and of the the exploits and the exaltation of humanity as pertains to Gene Roddenberry's vision. So it's funny that he wants to that Patrick Stewart, the man who played Captain Picard, and Patrick Stewart and Captain Picard are two very different individuals. The man who plays him and the man he plays are two very different people. It's very funny that Patrick Stewart, who portrays Captain Picard, would want to kind of tarnish that a little bit by putting a little darkness into not who Captain Picard is, but into him being disillusioned with this organization that he gave his entire life to, pretty much. So I could see that. I think it's a little less, hopefully it ends better than Logan. I think it's a little less grim, or because Logan kind of starts on a bout of hopelessness. He's run down, he's dying. Certainly Xavier is dying. They have this antagonistic attitude with Caliban, who is like nursemaiding both of them, is mothering both of them, and then the Reavers come and kill everybody. So I mean, it's not spoiler. Everybody dies with the exception of Lila Bevilacqua.
It's been out for 2 years.
His Dark Materials.
I think we've hit that point.
I know. I'm just saying.
I appreciate.
It's too late. I already gave it away before. I'm hoping that Picard ends better than Logan. Yeah. But I see the correlation between them.
Yeah. Another show that is coming back in February. Another show, different show. Picard debuted. It's coming back. But it feels like it's been resurrected. Is Star Wars Clone Wars. Now, full disclosure, the trailer came out last week, and we knew the trailer came out last week, and theoretically speaking, we could have done a trailer truth or trash, but we had so much other stuff. I literally made the decision. I'm like, we'll talk about it next week. Clone Wars, you're a big fan of the cartoon series, correct?
Yeah, super big.
Yeah, I mean, you're like the resident Star Wars guy. Like that is your contribution to this show, I think.
I'm resident archive Star Wars guy, classic Star Wars guy. I am not a Disney Star Wars guy.
No, but at this point, you can keep up on a lot of the Disney Star Wars stuff.
So far, because Disney hasn't forayed too deeply into their iteration of what Star Wars is. So I could keep up with it, but after Rise of Skywalker, I'm trailing off.
Yeah, shout out to friend and fan of the show, James Massia. He is an English teacher in I think either Virginia or Maryland. I can't remember where exactly. He gave his non-Disney Star Wars, I guess, Lucasfilm novels to one of his students, and the Lucasfilm novel, the student came back and was just like, Disney Star Wars sucks. Like, I can't believe you lived in an era where, people could read this, and he read, he gave him, because he was a fan of all the books. So he gave him all the books and whatnot. And, just a different level.
The newer books are not that good.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that.
No. Okay, good.
We're going to talk about Clone Wars coming back. Your thoughts on the trailer?
I think the trailer was wonderful. There was, but I mean, there's not a lot of substance in it. There's just a lot of lightsabers and people, getting killed and stuff. And obviously, it's going to tie in to at least coincide or coexist with, or probably culminate, if we want to just keep using C words, with the Revenge of the Sith. Which is exciting to see how it, how it's all going to wrap up and how the Clone Wars is going to end and wrap up. I'm sad, actually, for the most part, that it's the last season, and they're very much pushing the angle that this is the last season.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be the last season. I don't think they're going to do any.
If they're going to end with the Revenge of the Sith, then that's going to be the last season.
This is the part that's so interesting. We were just talking about streaming apps. Disney Plus app, I had no problem purchasing. Like, in my head, fundamentally, I had no problem purchasing because of the wealth of content that you can get on it. that you really can't get anywhere else. The new shows that they're doing, ties into the bigger movie world with Star Wars and Marvel, which is really exciting. And then obviously having a repository of Disney. Yeah, a repository of all the Disney and Star Wars and Marvel films all in one place. It's like, well, this is a no-brainer. Whereas like a CBS app, I'm sitting there going like, no, I can turn CBS on. Like, why do I need an app for this? Like, I don't. Like, I guess I could turn the Disney Channel on, but that's different than, what the Disney app is. So to me, it's like, this is great. I'll eat this S up all day long, no problem. Speaking of S. That's actually not true, I guess, because I think from what I'm reading, they've redeemed themselves. Walking Dead also coming back for their part 2 of season 10.
I keep hearing that it's back to form.
Yeah,
that it's fantastic. I hear all kinds of good things about Walking Dead. I can't go back. I'm way too far behind.
You're not that far behind. You're as far behind as I am. I stopped watching at the beginning of season 9, not because it wasn't appointment television anymore. My dad and I used to watch it together. That just became more difficult with my kids. I don't have free time to do so. But even that being said, new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm came on, and I'm like, Dad, we have to watch this. Whereas Walking Dead, it's like, it's there. We'll catch up when we get to it. And that's been like 2 years.
There's no urgency. You don't have any urgency to see the
Apparently, the big to do is 2 things. One is Michonne. This is, I guess, spoilers if anybody has not heard the news. Rick Grimes left last season. Michonne is exiting the show this season. Danny Guerrera. And Andrea, who was killed off way back in like season 3, is going to make an appearance. Could be in a vision, could be in a dream, could be something. A lot of speculation as to how Michonne is going to exit the show, dead or alive. We don't know. Most times it doesn't end well for cast members.
Usually it does not. It does not. And I think it will be cheating. I think you might even want speculation of how like stories work or whatever.
Don't speculate, because speculating, that's a totally different thing. But if you speculate...
Are you kidding me?
I just had to.
Really? All right.
There's something about that.
In my own speculation.
There was something about the way you said that just... I had to...
It would have been fine. We would have gotten right through it, but no.
It made me giggle.
Okay. I'll be
not
waiting.
Not chuckle.
I'll be waiting.
I did not give you a chuckle. I gave you a giggle.
Yeah. It was a giggle. I don't know. I think a giggle might be a little worse than a chuckle, but okay.
No, giggle's a positive thing. I told you, giggle positive, chuckle negative.
Oh, yes, because giggle, you're laughing with me as opposed to at me.
Exactly. Chuckle,
I got you.
Laughing at you. Giggle,
I don't want to speculate exactly how
I see what you did there now. I see what you did there. I like that. See,
now
you're
going to lean into it. You just got to lean into it.
That's we've learned this over 4 years of doing this.
Yes. But I messed up my mic. I'm having a great time. This is all your fault. That's what I get for leaning into it.
This whole segment has gone completely.
It's all going awry.
It's astray. Array. Yes. I was going to say array. I couldn't decide astray or awry.
I don't even care. What was I even talking about now? I don't want to speculate exactly how she'll go, but if they let her live after they let Rick Grimes live. Spoiler.
Mm-hmm. Oops.
I think it would be weak. So she's probably, unless they're going to do something where she just disappears, like she goes off in the woods, and you never know what her fate is. She doesn't come back.
Here's kind of where I stand on all this stuff now. Now that Kirkman actually ended the series, I feel like it has given the show this release to kind of do whatever they want, only because while they do have a history of sticking to and not sticking to various plot points or altering things, like Andrea was alive in the comics for a long time versus, and she became the love interest of Rick Grimes, versus Melissa McBride's character who, was who took on that form. She was killed, in the comic series. So he would, the show would kind of pick different characters to live and different characters to die. And, but for the most part, it kind of stuck to that same kind of script. Mm-hmm. Yes, they can still do the same thing, but I feel like now that Kirkman's not telling the story every single month in comic book form anymore, like who cares almost like how the show ends at this point, because you got an ending in the comic book already. So
yeah, and Kurtzman's like ending was jarring in and of itself. You know, it was very abrupt, and it was like what? You know, so. And I mean, I'm not even talking about the events in the end. I'm just talking about the fact that it just came to an end, and he announced it like a month before he put out the last issue.
No, he didn't even announce. I mean, literally, he announced, I think, the day of. Like, this is it. It's the last issue. He, in fact, created 3 covers specifically to solicit to the distributor, so that people thought there were more issues coming out.
Yeah, so why?
Oh, that's I think is fantastic. I think there's something cool about kind of just going out. You know, and trying to keep it as much of a secret as humanly possible. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. All right, last thing on our winter TV preview. We can't really talk too much about it. We are knowledgeable comic book people. I am a knowledgeable comic book person to have even identified this. Locke and Key, coming out on Netflix. Locke and Key was an IDW book. Came out in 2008. It sold out. It's a good horror, supernatural kind of graphic novel, so go check it out. Carlton Cuse of Lost fame is the showrunner on this particular iteration, so it is coming out on Netflix. I will definitely check it out when it comes out. I think it's pretty cool. But again, just more content being kind of produced via comic books first. So I think that's kind of it's kind of a cool thing to see. That's all I got.
Yes. I think comic books are going to be tapped for quite some time. It's going to be a source of. I mean, look, it won't always be superheroes, but comic books offer a lot more variety in things, and it's also a lot of.
Oh, you mean tapped as in they're going to tap into more?
Yeah,
I thought you meant like tapped as in like it's tapped out. Yeah.
No, I think they're gonna be mined for quite some time.
Yeah, your previous comment went astray.
No, you can tap into something. No,
I know. You're right. You're right.
Fine.
It's
fine. It's your understanding of English that's the problem. That's all.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
I fall for that stupid joke every time.
It's Ralph. How can you not? It's Ralph. It's Ralph. It's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be around for a long time. I'll be happy when we start. I mean, even Road to Perdition was a comic book.
Yeah.
Before the golden age of comic book adaptations. So I mean, comics have a lot to offer mainstream visual media.
Yeah.
And I think now that everyone's well aware of how lucrative it can be, we're going to see a lot of stuff that surprisingly had an origin as a comic book.
Speaking of, when we come back, we're going to dive into one of the original comics to TV shows that just aired their series finale last night. When we come back, I'm everything my 19-year-old self fought hard to not be.
Yes, you are
like 19-year-old self is like,
you've become what you hate. You've become the enemy.
19-year-old self, don't sell out. 39-year-old self is like,
sell out every night.
Out. Like, sell it out, baby.
First sign of trouble, sell out. No, we did not.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. I did that on purpose because I like it. I like it when people don't realize we're talking during the commercial.
Bing.
Which is I don't know. Yeah, I guess it does count. All right.
Yeah, ass doesn't really count anymore. Everybody uses that. That's on soap operas now.
Comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. One of the big TV/pop culture events happened last night, which was the Arrow series finale. For those not in the know, such as your two hosts here who really have... I watched my first episode of Arrow ever last night. It was very exciting. I watched the recap. I figured I saw that this special was coming on. I was like, boom. I'm going to cue in.
There it is. Yeah, I'm going to lock in here.
I got
this
8.
Is where
I got,
we'll lock it.
Yeah, I got 8 seasons in, or 7 seasons in an hour. It was fantastic. Here's the thing about Arrow in general. We'll talk about that final scene also, because I think it's kind of interesting. Unraveling the TV connections and the contracts, and what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do in terms of the specific characters you're allowed to use and not use. The Arrow in general was such a groundbreaking show, because what it managed to do, and again, not having watched it, but having, anytime someone would say, like, what show should you be watching if you're a fan of all this stuff, it was Arrow. And just the fact that it came out, in 2011, this is like pre-Avengers hitting. This is comic books are the Marvel plan is matriculating, but it has not metastasized into what it is now. Batman vs Superman hadn't come out yet, but Man of Steel was still 2 years away. You had Watchmen. You had, for all intents and purposes, it should have failed, right? It should not have succeeded in the way that it succeeded. It should not have spawned the Arrowverse, which is, kind of, laughable in a way that it's the series finale of this show. But you could easily bring back any of the characters. You could easily cross-pollinate any of the characters. The same showrunner, Greg Berlanti, runs the whole Arrowverse in general. Guggenheim, who's also a comic book writer as well, too, is involved in Flash and all these other shows as well, too. So as much as it's an ending, it's really not. What they've managed to create is kind of what I think Joss Whedon was able to accomplish years ago with the Buffy and Angelverse, but to an even greater scope, to a point where I'm wondering if Buffy was around today, would we have 5 Buffy shows? I feel like we would.
Probably. She still might last as long as she lasted, because 7 years is a good run.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
a really good run. And even for Angel, 5 years is a pretty solid run. I don't like the way Angel ended, but it was it was a solid. It's a solid watch, even in the rewatch. So yeah, there probably would have been. Probably Angel would have been able to go 7 years. Yeah, and probably there would be maybe
we'd get like a Spike
show.
We'd get a Spike,
Spike
spin-off
show, or,
Spike and Drusilla, or whatever.
Exactly.
A Faith
which would have
show.
been. Which look, I would have watched. That would have been great.
Oh yeah.
The Arrowverse is a ridiculous phenomenon. It's a ridiculous phenomenon. It's a great accomplishment. There's varying degrees of quality that you may or may not be able to, and then all of that is subjective. All of that is arguable. Sure. But you can't deny the accomplishment of the Arrowverse in and of itself, and it was all spearheaded by Green Arrow,
right?
Arrow, which they took Green Arrow. First of all, was not a gold standard, character from from the DC universe, and they made him the center, the focal point of a television empire, of all these, and launched all these franchises, and they've done far better than the DCEU has been able to do in movies. They've done far better.
I think that's the number one takeaway from this, right? They're able to create the Marvel Universe format on TV using DC characters in a way that DC movies has always failed and will continue to fail to do.
Yeah. And well, okay. I don't want to get into speculation, because I don't like to speculate. But it's arguable that the Arrowverse works even better than the MCU, because it's very integrated. Yeah. Very cross-pollinated. It's not. The MCU gets very cheeky sometimes and hints at things.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because Mark Guggenheim in an interview. See, I do my research even if I don't watch the show.
Even if you don't do your research.
No, I do my research. I just don't watch the TV shows. like I know about Walking Dead. I just haven't seen it in 2 years.
Yeah, I just won't watch it.
Guggenheim was always like, well, did you see Iron Man 3? The problem with this interconnected universe, and something that we're very attuned to and we try to avoid, is, well, why didn't Iron Man just call the Avengers to save the day in Iron Man 3? At that point, he should have. And in this matriculated universe, to your point, I think they've managed to do it in a way where you understand that, okay, Flash just can't save the day all the time because he's busy with his own stuff going on, and you get to see that week in and week out. And
Supergirl can't call Flash whenever she needs a backup because they're in a different universe,
right?
Which they tore that down. I think.
Now they're all in Earth Prime. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Speaking of spoilers, the final scene for anybody who has not seen it yet, keep watching and or listening to our podcast. But you just so we get the clicks and stuff. But
yeah, just for us, not for your
turn away in case you don't want to know this. Diggle, John Diggle. Green Lantern Arrow scene offers brightest day for Diggle, confirming the Green Lantern Arrow spoilers from earlier. This is from CosmicBookNews.com. Now the episode is aired, offering perhaps a brightest day for John Diggle. David Ramsey as Diggle narrates the ending, whereas he gets ready to move to Metropolis. Crisis merged the Tyler Hoechlin Superman and Supergirl universe and all the CW DC characters into one Earth, which is awesome. He sees something fall from the sky, which blasts him back. Diggle gets up. It's a green glowing box. Now, while the lantern ring is never shown and nothing is said, it does kind of intimate that we now have a new Green Lantern in the Arrowverse. Regarding why Green Lantern wasn't allowed to be actually shown or used, though, we know there have been plans in place for movies and TV series, such as the HBO Max series, which was recently announced for Green Lantern. Jeff Johns has also been supposedly developing a Green Lantern movie with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. So they're going to try to take another stab at that. And they've also heard rumors that J.J. Abrams wants to tackle Green Lantern as well. So maybe it's Green Lantern, maybe it's not. I mean, they've done a nice job of kind of balancing the movie universe is separate from the TV universe, although I guess maybe Crisis kind of ends all that.
It seems like it. I haven't seen all of Crisis. We are very bad. We have done a very bad job for this research on this. But it seems like, from what I understand, that the barriers between the worlds has been kind of broken down. So either they could traverse the world very easily, or much more easily, or they're all on Earth Prime, which is like the end of the comic Crisis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, it's still that will probably make the logistics of furthering seasons a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Because now you will have to explain why Black Lightning isn't calling the Heroes of Tomorrow every time he hits a wall.
Yeah.
But it's still like the other grand bold accomplishment about the Arrowverse over the MCU is that we can only take glimpses into the MCU every few years, whereas with the Arrowverse we could see each and every individual in the universe on a weekly basis, like as they develop as characters in their own right, and then every now and then come together to smash something. Yeah. So it's, if you're into that sort of thing, then that's the sort of thing you want to be into.
And one thing the Arrow series finale has seemed to do, which a lot of series finales do not do, and again, it's tough to call this a finale. It is an Arrow finale, but not an Arrowverse finale. So there's a little bit of leverage there. It seems to have gone off in a way that all the fans were like, yeah, they nailed it. This is great. They did it. Because a lot of series finales don't nail it. A lot of series finales leave you wondering. I think we ranked our series finales. 6 Feet Under series finale is one of the best series finales I've ever seen. We've talked about this in previous shows. Buffy, I thought, was an amazing series finale, too. I thought it did a nice job of kind of answering the question that was posed at the very beginning, which is there's a chosen one. By the end of it, it's not a one anymore. It's been spread out to every. So I thought that was kind of, she's not alone anymore, and I thought that was actually really, really poignant and a really strong way to end it.
It's a good focal point to concentrate on, because whenever you end a story, you gotta end it with some kind of profound change has taken place from the premise, how the premise started. Yeah, you could do it like that. And they'd already been cheating that with Kendra and then with Faith. Yeah. They already were cheating add an extra Slayer. Yeah. So I mean, it just stands to reason that was a good solid ending.
And then but then you have to also think about Game of Thrones, which just ended. Which was universally
I was trying
panned.
not to. I was wondering which of us were gonna.
It is not an easy thing. I can literally count 2 series finales that left me, going, yeah, all right, I totally nailed it. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I felt the series finale of Boardwalk Empire was like, wow, okay. I mean, you're obviously...
except no one watched that show. No one. Like 2 people. So a lot less pressure. Steve Buscemi. Yeah. When we come back, we go spinning the racks. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, talking comics, movies, TV, pop culture, and Boardwalk Empire every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the SireDigital.com network. We do this every week. We talk about the inside info in the comic book industry, because it's all the stuff that you love on film. We're getting ahead of the curve and giving you the insight before it does. We spin the comics to movie racks.
Spin the rack, spin that
rack. Graphic novel sales rose 16.1% in bookstores in 2019. This comes from The Beat, Heidi McDonald's awesome newsletter. Go subscribe to it. It's great. While graphic novel sales were down slightly in comic shops in 2019, in bookstores, they're up 16.1% and helped buoy book sales overall, according to a report by Jim Millot and from Publishers Weekly.
So graphic novels are helping the literary sphere, but not helping the comic book retailers. That's
2 call-outs to James Massia in one show. James Massia recently launched a novel, an illustrated novel on Kickstarter. And out of all of his, he got the book back. Out of all of his backers, he looked at where they found him. And there's something, about people looking to Kickstarter to discover new projects. It was by far like 2% of his backers. Whereas in the past, I mean, even the Descendant Kickstarter, I mean, 30% of the people that backed Descendant were people who went to the Kickstarter site looking for graphic novels. So yeah, graphic novels, publishing itself is in a little bit of a free fall. Graphic novels, completely different shape. So this is from Publishers Weekly. Positive trends in adult fiction were the continued strength of graphic novels, where units rose 16.1%, and the rebound in horror, occult, psychological segment, where units increased 16.6%. Science fiction had the largest decline among the adult fiction genres, with units down 19.7%. The smaller Western segments units fell 17.2%. And romance novels declined 12.4%. While print sales of science fiction and romance continue to endure annual double-digit declines, mystery detective, another segment that has suffered, had a relatively mild 3.5% decline in unit sales. Very fascinating, too, just kind of on the heels of last week, we talked about Image cutting down on science fiction. I wonder what's... You would think there'd be more. I don't know. Maybe like with movies and whatnot. I mean, it can't all be superheroes at some point, right?
You'd like to think so, but you know, what the problem with business though is that they're not gonna form trends. They're only chasing trends.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna stop with the superhero stuff until the superhero stuff tanks hard.
Yeah.
So, and if Kevin Feige is the genius that we think he is, that we've already christened him as, the superhero genre is going to last for quite a while.
Yeah.
So that means they're just going to milk this cow until there's nothing left.
So what you're saying is we've got to get the Sire movie superhero forced by his own
that
costume.
Is exactly what I was saying. I'm glad you were able to interpret that.
Option.
Well, we're waiting.
It's funny though, reading this about graphic novels. It kind of bookends our initial conversation with Birds of Prey and the initial tweet where the guy was like, "Oh, you don't know the audience that you're actually looking for." And it's like, no, the audience is completely changed now. Graphic novels, and especially the availability digitally of graphic novels, it's a thriving industry. Kindle sales, iBook sales, Amazon sales. I said Kindle actually. Comixology, things like that, where
it's a global market. It's global.
Webtoons is huge. Like web comics are big. I mean, that's the world we're living in now too. Where
to claim any one demographic has a chokehold on fandom is not. And I mean, even if they did, your goal as a producer, your goal as a content provider would be to expand the audience, not to just strictly cater to one.
Yeah.
But try to bring in as many people as possible so that you could expand your audience base and expand your profits.
Yeah.
Very simply.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense to want to specialize, and narrow things down. It's nonsense.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes. We are always ever present being in this industry and hoping to make livings off of this industry as to where these trends are headed.
If at all possible.
If at all possible. Next week, we dive into Birds of Prey. The reviews will be out. We'll preview the Birds of Prey movie alongside that Kevin Sharp. We'll also dive into Oscars. It's our Oscar preview show. We'll list the comic books you need to read before going to see Birds of Prey. And we'll do a little Logan versus Joker standoff. Great article I found. I can't wait to dive into that. And who knows, maybe a trailer or two will pop up in between. We'll see you guys.
Probably will happen.
Week.
Secrets of the Sire.